Super good. Before I jump into the topic, I was gathering some thought last night in terms of what should we cover, what should we speak about, what should we share. And in midst of all that, my son called from Bombay. I stay in Mumbai. And he's like, Papa, what are you doing? Always he's asked me, show me your room, show me the view outside, and what are you getting for me from Delhi? And last week I was in Dubai, and same occurrence happened. Papa, what are you doing? Show me your hotel room, show me the view outside, and what are you getting? But last week he was very specific. He told me, Papa, get me something which is easy to use, simple to carry, and uses my brain. Fast forward, I went to the store, how to make your own transformer. I picked up that kit, super excited, went home, he opened the kit, big manual, 100 instructions to follow, super complicated. He tuned out in 2 minutes. Next day, he goes out to a mall with my wife, comes home happily. Papa, see what I got, Rubik Cube. Right? So what he was wanting versus what I got for him was completely different. The solution that I offered was not relevant. And as usual, my wife proved me wrong again. And now you'll wonder what is the context to the discussion, and hold on to that thought. I'll cover it in a bit. First of all, good morning everyone. Thank you very much for joining in. It's absolutely pleasure to be here amongst all the supply chain leaders in this room. Really looking forward to exchange some ideas and views with all of you during the breaks and otherwise. An aspect of business which has tremendous power to transform lives around the world. We heard Vikas in the morning speak about how the supply chain is evolving around resilience, agility, around sustainability, around digitization. And I think for most of us, in the next few years and months to come, we're going to spend tremendous amount of our time around that area. This new paradigm will challenge our traditional way of thinking, lowest cost and standard delivery as the KPI. And Abhinav also mentioned about how Amazon is looking at it very differently. It's a big challenge on all of us to look at SCM not as a cost, but as a true differentiator. And nobody has done a better job than what Amazon has done on this field. I don't think it requires any more discussion around that. Today, Ankur, who's joining me, and I will share some thoughts around how do we see supply chain evolving around this front. Supply chain challenges have been discussed over years. Right? All of us have discussed supply chain challenges, what needs to change, what needs to happen. Of course, COVID and related disruptions that we have seen in the last few months and years have changed few of these discussions. But what has not changed is one thing. And that's what the customer is asking. When you speak to the customer, he's saying, please help me grow my business. Please help me meet my demand. The existing model, which is based on, or was based on the lowest cost standard delivery, could sustain for years because disruptions were far and few. However, today, with unprecedented disruptions, rapid digitization, changing customer loyalty, Vikas spoke about it, right? Because there are new products available and fast coming in the market, and ever-evolving geopolitical scenario is challenging the existing model. Let me give you an example. What is the most commonly used garment around the world? Jeans. People say jeans or denim is a way of life. But when you zoom out and start looking at it from a cotton field, the process starting from a cotton field to the closet, there are many more nuances and elements to it. Right from sourcing of the cotton within India, from Bangladesh, to being converted into a fabric, to being manufactured into a jeans, and to being available in a store in Milan or on an online channel when the customer is ordering, it has to go through its own journey. While multiple sourcing countries destination markets and growing number of sales channels have made supply chain or logistics super complex. What has not changed again is a farmer who is in Rajkot, cultivating that cotton, making sure that it reaches to the manufacturer in time and it receives its due. What has not changed is the manufacturer in Tirupur who is manufacturing the jeans, who is under the pressure to ensure that it gets delivered on time in Milan before the summer season starts. What has not changed, the consumer who goes to the store and wants to pick up their jeans of his size, of his color, or ordering it online. Customers and customers' expectations have remained the same. They want the availability. However, we have converted, as logistics player, it into a container issue, a space issue, a warehousing issue, an invoicing issue, so on and so forth. And the beauty is, when tech was added on top, instead of solving the problem, it basically created a plethora of softwares. Each of them providing various solutions in their part of the supply chain, but not having or having very limited impact on the entire supply chain. Despite of all these journeys and evolution of technologies, which is the most popular widely used software in the world? Excel. Some smart gentleman said that. Even today, Excel is the most widely used software in the world. The point that I'm trying to make is the existing supply chain based on low cost and fragmented service providers always showed the efficient, happy flow. But when it was challenged, or rather is challenged, the cracks are visible. Some service providers did a phenomenal job. However, the challenge was that their role was very limited in the entire supply chain to make an impact. And as a result, the customer experience got impacted. So we need to change the way we look at the supply chain. We need to move out from the traditional way to what is the futuristic way of looking at it, which is a bit more dynamic and a lot more integrated. And to explain that, let me hand it over to Ankur, who will take us through on that one. Ankur, over to you.
Thanks, Bhavik. And let me say, your wife may actually be quite disappointed because you got this part pretty right. So again, I think just to expand on what Bhavik is, rightfully articulated in terms of the key challenges, what's not working, what works in parts but not everywhere else. I think it's a no-brainer, and we heard Vikash, we heard the panel as well. It's a no-brainer that companies need to start doing things very, very differently and significantly differently. I think what the companies need to understand is that we need to move away from fragmented way of responding to change to that of an integrated way, and then to also have some sort of a purpose-led mindset. I think in the panel we heard the word purpose and I got really excited because that's the session all about, right? But in order for companies to actually move in that direction and to able to understand the problems from a customer lens in an integrated way, Bhavik mentioned about adaptability, the need for companies to being a lot more resilient and be flexible around change and also support customers in not just organic but inorganic growth, etc. And of course, Vikash spoke a lot about sustainability. Now, how do we tackle such big challenges? How do companies actually survive and potentially thrive in these circumstances, and what's ahead of us? These are turbulent times. These times are here to stay. There is potentially a recession waiting around the door. There is a huge amount of inflation issues that the world is facing. There's geopolitical that Bhavik spoke about. So again, it bases our experience, bases what we've done, bases the purpose and the values that we recently also announced, and the experience in the industry. I think there are a few things on the how part that I just wanted to share with you, all of you. What is it and how is it that companies will survive this change? I think the first one is absolutely super critical, which is about looking at the problem from a customer lens, right? It's a lot about understanding the customer needs and understanding it in a fairly integrated way. The second one is, and that's also linked with customer centricity, is the whole technology investment, right? It's not about building cool and sexy software and platforms. We got to make platforms and solutions which keeps the customer at the heart of the conversation. How are the customer journeys getting fully digitized? How are we inviting the customers to to keeping their experience very, very simple when it comes to technology in a very end-to-end way. I think the third one, again, linked to the customer is, are organizations realizing that the conversation with the customers need to change, significantly evolve from transactional, individual product-related conversations to that of a solution mindset? Are organizations realizing that they need to move into a consultative solutioning approach? The next one, which is also very, very important, is do we understand that customers, all our large customers, are revisiting their decades-old of supply chain investment? And what companies like ours can do to support those customers in making the right choices for their supply chain investments in future with the massive amount of data we sit with the kind of controlled, diversified asset portfolio that we have. There is so much we can offer to the customer. The next one is potentially the closest to my heart, is around the culture that the companies are building. Are we building the right inclusive culture? Are we building the culture of diversity and inclusion, whereby organizations are increasingly creating a very, very agile, empowered ways of working, where the leadership is moved away from command and control to that of servant leadership? And what that environment does, it actually creates a space where we jointly celebrate success, but equally importantly, potentially more importantly, we create a safe space for letting teams fail fast, learn, adapt, and move on. Are we building the continual learning environment or not? And I'll take a very quick example of my own experience. I've been working with, for the last 21 odd years, in the first 15 years, I thought I'm hitting the ball out of the park. I've largely been in the space of change management, enabling change, etc. And there came a phase in my career where I realized that I've probably hit that glass ceiling, which is, by the way, it's not real, it's something that all of us create in our minds. And when I hit that glass ceiling, I did realize that I have to get back to the journey of continual learning. I have to get back to this transitioning away from leading change to facilitating change, etc., etc. So which all of us, if you look at it, is leaning towards the fact that companies are investing a lot in new skills, new requirements, new empowered organization designs, etc. And all of this is not easy. We at Maersk are also potentially at day one in this journey. But what it's going to take is, and I'm going to actually now land to the conversation to our own purpose, right? So we released our purpose a couple of months back, and you've been seeing this, and it's a very, very simple yet very, very impactful statement, right? Improving life for all by integrating the world. And if you actually think about this purpose, and if I reflect on this conversation we are having, there is no way on earth we can deliver this purpose without actually making it an industry purpose, without inviting our partners, our colleagues, our suppliers, our customers, even our peers in competition, to actually understanding the need for integration, the understanding the need for improving life for our shareholders, for our customers, for our communities, by integrating the world. And just imagine if this purpose becomes a joint purpose of the industry, then at least I'm very confident the magic can and should happen. Even with all the turbulent times we have ahead of us, the problems are not going to disappear. They're going to come. Some new ones will come in. We'll be faced with something which is highly unprecedented. But it's this mindset, is the how part, which hopefully will make that difference. So on that note, I know time has been up for the last couple of minutes, so I wouldn't take that long. Thank you very much for listening to us. And we're all very excited to hear the remaining conversations and go through some of the great conversations during the day and learn a lot from all the discussions which are lined up for later today. I'm going to leave, both of us are going to leave you with a quick 1.5-minute video on what this purpose could mean, not just for Maersk, but for all of you and all of us here. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.